What would you say is the biggest lesson you learned from the army that you can apply to business?
So the army taught me many lessons, which we could go into great detail with.
It's probably another podcast.
Yeah, it's probably a complete other podcast. And I've been asked a lot of questions about that this weekend. I think understanding that talent comes from 360 degrees. There's a perception from school, I think, with everyone, where we have a year hierarchy that the more you go up that process, the older you are, the more you know, and you are instantly better than those younger than you. I think we have that ingrained in us very early on. We then have hierarchies in jobs, and someone is your manager. Because they're older, they managed to get to that point through time. In the military, we understood that there was a leader at every single level. Whether I had a section commander, corporal, who was maybe 6 years into their service, had probably a reading age, maths age level 8, probably, something like that, possibly 5, but was extremely skilled in their one area. Can you trust that person? Can you delegate appropriately? Can you learn from people above you? Absolutely, left and right of you and below. I was mentored by people who I commanded, and I think that's a really powerful tool to take into business, because people around you should mentor you at all levels. I don't think anyone is above being mentored by someone who has less experience than them, because they've got something that you don't.
Yeah, I think that's being open-minded, understanding everyone has a different, unique talent. Like, you have different skill sets than I do, and I often ask you, like, what do you think of this?
Yeah.
Because I respect your opinion and your experience, because you'll look at something from a different perspective I will, and I think that's probably one of the biggest mistakes most people make who aren't successful. I see as a arrogance that they think they know it all.
Yes.
And as soon as you think you know everything, you know nothing.
And people do this with their VAs. Coaches do this with their VAs. Really, really common. They sort of like really push on them. They wonder why they're not getting the best out of their VAs. One of the things we've been doing in our calls, I did it with Mark and Jess Ross very recently, get them on the call with their VA, have a look at it from the outside, ask them questions. What do you think? How would you approach this? Mark, Jess, what's your answer to this? What should they say? And then we build a better team structure, and then we can learn how that person works effectively and what drives them, and then what makes them tick, and then we get them to work better.
And ultimately, this is just maximising human performance that people work for you.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer, right?
Which comes down to understanding other people, the communication thing like you spoke about,
Yeah.
and also understanding people's values and like how to get them to tick.
Yeah, exactly. And that is, in a nutshell, the communication, the values, and the way you make people tick. That's leadership.
And I think that's the big thing that most coaches need to take and actually implement going into 2025, whilst having a big push over the Christmas period. I'd implement the 3-month thing over December to try and get people over the line.
Yes.
And don't be afraid to sell then, because I think a lot of people I see just end up like kicking their slippers on, eating the mince pies, and they're done with business for the year, which is the wrong approach.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
If you took a load of value from this episode, make sure you can check out Chris on Instagram. What's your Instagram, Chris?
Chris Ashford, UK.
Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, hit like button, and comment below any questions. And we'll see you next episode very soon.